I never thought a routine traffic stop would unravel my entire existence. It was a Tuesday afternoon in March when Officer Davidson pulled me over for a broken taillight on Route 34, just outside of Burlington, Vermont. I handed him my license, registration, and proof of insurance like I'd done once before, years ago. Everything seemed normal. He took my documents, walked back to his cruiser, and I waited, scrolling through my phone, completely oblivious to the fact that my life was about to implode. When he returned, his expression had changed. The casual professionalism was gone, replaced by something I couldn't quite read. Confusion, maybe. Suspicion. He asked me to step out of the vehicle. My heart started racing. I'm a 26-year-old data analyst who's never even gotten a speeding ticket. I've never been in trouble with the law. But the way he looked at me made me feel like I'd committed some terrible crime I didn't remember at the station. They separated me from my car and put me in a small, sterile room with a metal table and 2 chairs. Detective Sarah Chen came in about 20 minutes later, carrying a manila folder that looked impossibly thin for whatever was happening. She sat across from me, studied my face for a long moment, and then opened the folder. "Miss Rebecca Foster," she began, her voice measured and careful. "Do you know why you're here?" I shook my head, my hands trembling slightly. "The officer didn't tell me anything." "Is this about my taillight? Because I can get that fixed today. I promise." She didn't smile. "This isn't about your taillight. We ran your information through our database and something unusual came up. Your DNA profile matched a sample in our missing persons database." I blinked, trying to process what she just said. "My DNA? I've never given my DNA to anyone." "How do you even have my DNA?" "Vermont started collecting DNA samples from all driver's license renewals 2 years ago as part of a pilot program. You renewed your license 18 months ago." She paused, watching my reaction. "Miss Foster, your DNA is a familial match to a child who went missing in 1995, a little girl named Emma Walsh, who disappeared from Portland, Maine when she was 3 years old." The room seemed to tilt. I gripped the edge of the table. "That's impossible. I was born in 1998. My birth certificate says July 15th, 1998. I'm 26 years old." Detective Chen nodded slowly. "I understand this is confusing. But DNA doesn't lie. The match indicates you're either Emma Walsh herself, or you're closely related to her. Close enough to be a sibling or a parent, which is obviously impossible given your age." I felt like I was going to be sick. "My parents are David and Margaret Foster. They live in White River Junction. They've been my parents my entire life. This has to be a mistake. Test the DNA again." "It's wrong. We've already run it 3 times, she said quietly. "The probability of error is less than 1 in several billion." "Miss Foster, I need to ask you some questions about your childhood. Do you remember anything before the age of 3? I tried to think back, but my earliest memories were hazy at best. A birthday party with a Barney cake. My mom reading me Goodnight Moon, playing in the backyard of our house on Maple Street. I remember some things. Normal things." "Why are you asking me this?" She leaned forward, her expression softening slightly. "Because if you are Emma Walsh, it would mean that David and Margaret Foster either took you from your biological family, or they received you from someone who did. It would mean your entire identity is based on a lie." The words hit me like a physical blow. I started shaking my head, tears burning in my eyes. No, that's not possible." "My parents would never. They're good people. They're the best parents anyone could ask for. This is insane." Detective Chen reached across the table, not quite touching my hand but close enough to be comforting. "I know this is overwhelming, but we need to figure out what happened. We need to contact Emma Walsh's biological family. They deserve to know their daughter might be alive." I couldn't breathe. Everything I thought I knew about myself was crumbling. "Can I call my parents?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, but I need to be present during the call." My hands were shaking so badly I could barely dial. My mom answered on the second ring, her voice bright and cheerful like always. "Becca, Hi, honey. How's your day going? I tried to speak, but my throat closed up. Detective Chen took the phone gently from my hand. Mrs. Foster? This is Detective Sarah Chen with the Vermont State Police. Your daughter is safe, but we need you and your husband to come to the Burlington station as soon as possible. It's regarding a matter of significant importance. I could hear my mom's voice rising in panic on the other end. The detective assured her I wasn't hurt, wasn't in trouble, but needed them there. When she hung up, I put my head in my hands and tried to understand how any of this could be real. My parents arrived within an hour. My dad, usually so calm and collected, looked like he'd aged 10 years. My mom's eyes were red and puffy. When they saw me through the window of the interrogation room, my mom burst into tears. They were brought into a separate room, and I was left alone with my thoughts, which were spiraling into darker and darker places. Had my entire childhood been a lie? Were the people I called mom and dad actually kidnappers? The thought made me want to vomit. But then I remembered my mom teaching me to ride a bike, staying up with me when I had nightmares, helping me with college applications. My dad coaching my soccer team, building me a treehouse, walking me down the aisle at my college graduation. These weren't the actions of criminals? They couldn't be. Detective Chen returned after what felt like hours. Her expression was grim. Your parents have agreed to provide DNA samples. We'll know within 48 hours whether you're biologically related to them or not. She sat down heavily. Miss Foster, there's something you should know. Emma Walsh wasn't just missing. She was abducted. Her mother, Jennifer Walsh, was found unconscious in their home. Emma was gone. There was evidence of a break-in. Jennifer never fully recovered from her injuries and died by suicide 3 years later. Emma's father, Thomas Walsh, has been searching for his daughter ever since. I felt the tears streaming down my face. If I was Emma, then my existence had cost a woman her life. A father had lost everything. And the people who raised me, who I loved more than anything, might be responsible for all of it. I want to meet him, I whispered. Thomas Walsh. If there's even a chance I'm his daughter, he deserves to know. Detective Chen looked surprised. That's not standard protocol. We usually wait until we have definitive proof. I don't care about protocol, I said, my voice stronger now. If that man has been searching for his daughter for 29 years, he deserves to know that there's a possibility she's alive. Even if it turns out I'm not her, at least he'll have had a moment of hope. She considered this, then nodded. I'll make the call. Thomas Walsh arrived the next morning. I watched through a two-way mirror as he entered the station. A tall man in his late 50s with graying hair and tired eyes that looked like they'd seen too much pain. Detective Chen briefed him in private, and I could see his hand shaking as she spoke. When she showed him a photo of me, he pressed his fingers to his mouth and closed his eyes. They brought me into the room. We stood facing each other, and for a long moment, neither of us spoke. He was studying my face, and I was studying his, looking for any resemblance, any spark of recognition or genetic memory. You have her eyes, he said finally, his voice cracking. Emma had these big green eyes that looked like the ocean. Jennifer always said she got them from my mother. I touched my face self-consciously. I'd always wondered where my green eyes came from. Both David and Margaret Foster had brown eyes. They'd always told me I got them from David's mother, who had passed away before I was born. Mr. Walsh, I began, but he held up a hand. Please, call me Tom. He sat down, gesturing for me to do the same. Detective Chen told me about the DNA match. She told me about your birth certificate, your parents, everything. I don't understand how this is possible, but I need you to know something. His eyes filled with tears. For 29 years, I've imagined this moment. I've imagined finding Emma alive, grown up, happy. And now you're here, and you're real, and I'm terrified that this is another dead end. I don't think I can survive another one. My heart broke for him. I'm scared too, I admitted. I don't remember anything before I was 3. My parents say I was born at Burlington Medical Center in July of 1998, but now I don't know what to believe. If I am Emma, then everything I know about myself is a lie. But if I'm not, then I've given you false hope, and that feels almost worse. He reached across the table and took my hand. His hands were rough, weathered, the hands of someone who'd worked hard his whole life. You haven't given me false hope. You've given me the first real lead in over a decade. Whatever the truth is, we'll face it together. Okay? I nodded, squeezing his hand back. In that moment, I felt a connection to the stranger that I couldn't explain. Maybe it was just empathy, or maybe it was something deeper. Something written into our DNA. The DNA results from my parents came back 2 days later. Detective Chen called us all into the station. My parents in one room, Tom Walsh in another. And me caught between two worlds, not knowing which one I truly belonged to. The results are conclusive, Detective Chen said. Her voice steady, but her eyes sympathetic. Rebecca, you are not biologically related to David and Margaret Foster. The room spun. My mom let out a sob, and my dad wrapped his arms around her. I felt like I was watching the scene from outside my body. Not their daughter. The words echoed in my head. Not their daughter. Not their daughter. However, Detective Chen continued, and everyone's head snapped up. You're also not Emma Walsh. The silence that followed was deafening. Tom Walsh looked like he'd been punched in the gut. I felt a confusing mixture of relief and disappointment. I don't understand, I said. The DNA matched. You said the probability of error was impossible. Detective Chen opened her folder and pulled out several documents. You're not Emma Walsh, but according to the DNA analysis, you are Emma Walsh's identical twin. The world stopped. Identical twin. Emma Walsh had a twin. I had a twin. A twin who was kidnapped in 1995 while I was presumably... What? Also kidnapped? Given away? Hidden? Tom Walsh was staring at the detective in shock. Jennifer never told me she was pregnant with twins. We knew about Emma. We saw her on the ultrasounds. We heard her heartbeat. But there was never any mention of a second baby. It's rare, but it happens, Detective Chen explained. Hidden twins, where one baby is positioned in a way that obscures the other on ultrasounds. With older ultrasound technology in the early 90s, it was more common than it is now. She looked at me. Rebecca, this means that when Emma was abducted, you were somewhere else. We need to figure out where and why you were separated from your twin sister. My mind was reeling. I had a twin. Emma wasn't me, but she was my mirror image. Somewhere out there, maybe she was still alive. Or maybe she'd been dead for 29 years while I lived her parallel life. Where is she? Tom asked, his voice desperate. If Rebecca is alive, where is Emma? Detective Chen's expression grew somber. That's what we need to investigate. We're going back through the case files, looking for any indication that there might have been two children involved. My dad cleared his throat. He looked smaller somehow, diminished. We need to tell you something. Margaret and I, we need to tell you the truth. Everyone turned to look at my parents. My mom was crying silently, her hands clasped in front of her. My dad took a deep breath. Rebecca wasn't born in Burlington, he said quietly. We adopted her through a private adoption in 1995. She was just a few months old. The adoption agency was called Bright Futures, and they operated out of Portland, Maine. Portland, Maine, where Emma Walsh was abducted. The coincidence was too massive to ignore. Why did you lie to us? I asked, my voice breaking. Why did you pretend I was your biological daughter? My mom finally spoke, her voice thick with tears. Because the adoption agency told us that's what they wanted. They said your birth mother was very young and didn't want any possibility of you finding her. They said it would be easier for everyone if we just raised you as our own, with no mention of adoption. They provided us with a birth certificate that listed us as your parents. We thought it was legal. We thought we were doing the right thing. Bright Futures was shut down in 1998 for illegal adoptions and child trafficking, Detective Chen said grimly. The agency director, a woman named Sandra Morrison, disappeared before she could be arrested. We never found her. The pieces were starting to come together, and the picture they formed was horrifying. Emma and I had been born as twins. Somehow, we'd been separated. Emma ended up with Tom and Jennifer Walsh. I ended up with an illegal adoption agency. And then Emma was taken, and I was sold to unsuspecting parents who thought they were saving a baby from poverty or young parenthood. Sandra Morrison, Tom said suddenly, his face going pale. I know that name. After Emma was taken, a woman came to our house claiming to be a grief counselor. She said she specialized in families of missing children. Jennifer was so devastated that she let this woman into our lives. The woman asked a lot of questions about Emma, about our family, about Jennifer's pregnancy. She even asked to see photos from when Jennifer was pregnant. He looked at Detective Chen. I thought it was strange at the time, but I was drowning in my own grief. I never followed up. Could that have been Sandra Morrison? Detective Chen was already typing on her computer. Mr. Walsh, I'm going to need you to work with a sketch artist. If we can get an image of this woman, we might be able to track her down. Over the next few weeks, the investigation exploded. The sketch artist's rendering of the woman who had visited Tom Walsh was circulated to media outlets across the country. Within days, she was identified. Sandra Morrison had been living under the name Sandra Mitchell in a small town in Georgia. She was arrested immediately. I sat in another interrogation room, this time on the other side of the two-way mirror, watching as Sandra Morrison was questioned. She was in her 70s now, small and frail-looking, but her eyes were sharp and calculating. You're accused of operating an illegal adoption ring, Detective Chen said. Of trafficking babies. Of being involved in the abduction of Emma Walsh. What do you have to say for yourself? Sandra smiled, a cold, emotionless expression. I helped babies find good homes. That's all I did. You stole children from their parents. I gave children to people who wanted them. Who could provide for them? She leaned back in her chair. You want to know about the twins? Fine, I'll tell you. Their mother came to me when she was 8 months pregnant. Drug addict. No money, no family. She wanted to sell her baby for drug money. I agreed to help her. When the babies were born, I realized there were 2 of them. The mother didn't even know. She was so high during the delivery that she barely remembered it. I felt sick listening to her casual description of my birth. I placed one baby with a loving family who'd been trying to adopt for years. The Fosters. Good people. They gave that little girl everything. She paused. The other baby, I placed with a young couple in Portland. The Walshes. But Jennifer Walsh started asking questions. She wanted medical records. She wanted to contact the birth mother. She was going to expose everything. So you took Emma, Detective Chen said flatly. I protected my business. Sandra replied without remorse. I went to the Walsh home. I told Jennifer I had information about her daughter's birth mother. She let me in. I gave her a sedative in her tea, took the child, and left. I had already arranged for Emma to be placed with a family in Canada. It should have been clean. Simple. But it wasn't, Detective Chen pressed. What happened to Emma Walsh? Sandra's expression finally showed a crack of emotion. Fear. The couple who was supposed to take her never showed up. I waited at the meeting point for hours. I had this baby and I didn't know what to do with her. I couldn't keep her. I couldn't take her back. So I left her. The room went silent. You left her where? Tom Walsh had entered the room, his face red with rage. At a fire station in Montreal, Sandra whispered. I left her in a car seat with a blanket and a note saying she needed a good home. I drove away. I assumed that they'd take her in, find her a family. I never looked back. Tom launched himself at her, but Detective Chen and 2 officers held him back. I felt tears streaming down my face. Emma had been abandoned at a fire station 30 years ago. She could be anywhere. She could be anyone. The investigation shifted to Canada. Montreal police pulled records from every fire station in the area for the summer of 1995. They found it. A baby girl, approximately 3 years old, found outside fire station 23 on June 18, 1995. She was taken into the child welfare system. She was adopted 6 months later by a family named Beaumont. Detective Chen tracked down the Beaumont family. They lived in Quebec City now. Their adopted daughter, who they'd named Sophie, was a teacher. She was 29 years old. And according to her adoption records, she had no memory of her life before the age of 3. They contacted Sophie Beaumont and explained the situation. She agreed to provide a DNA sample. The wait for those results was the longest week of my life. I'd gone back home to my parents' house, but everything felt different now. I looked at them and saw strangers who'd lied to me my entire life, even if they'd done it with good intentions. I looked at myself in the mirror and saw a woman I didn't recognize. A woman who had a twin sister. A woman who was born from a transaction, not from love. Tom Walsh called me every day. We talked for hours, trying to build a relationship out of the ashes of his tragedy and my identity crisis. He told me stories about Jennifer, about how much she'd loved Emma, about how she'd sung to her belly during the pregnancy. He told me about the years of searching, the false leads, the moments where he'd almost given up, but couldn't because it would mean abandoning his daughter. He told me that even though I wasn't Emma, he already thought of me as his daughter too. When the DNA results came back, Detective Chen called us all to the station again. Tom, me, Sophie Beaumont, who'd flown in from Quebec, and my adoptive parents, who I was slowly learning to see as the complicated people they were. Good people who'd made a terrible mistake out of desperation for a child. Sophie Beaumont, Detective Chen said, looking at the woman who sat across the table from me. We could have been looking in a mirror. Same green eyes. Same auburn hair. Same spattering of freckles across our noses. Your DNA is a perfect match to Rebecca Foster. You are identical twins. And you're both the daughters of Thomas Walsh. You are Emma Walsh. Sophie Emma, my sister, burst into tears. Tom stood frozen, like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. I reached across the table and took her hand, my hand, her hand. We were the same person, split in two by cruelty and circumstance. I remember you, Sophie whispered suddenly, looking at me with wide eyes. I've had this dream my entire life. There's another little girl, and we're in a room together, playing with blocks. And then someone comes and takes me away, and I'm screaming for you. I thought it was just a nightmare. But it was real. We were together, weren't we? Before she separated us. I felt goosebumps rise on my arms. I've had that dream too. The same exact dream. I always thought it was just my mind playing tricks on me. The DNA had brought us together, but it was the shared memory, that fragment of our earliest days, that made it real. We were sisters, twins, two halves of the same whole, torn apart by a woman who saw babies as commodities. Tom embraced both of us, sobbing. My daughters. My girls. Jennifer would be so happy. She would be so happy to know you're both alive and safe. The next few months were a whirlwind of media attention, legal proceedings, and therapy. Sandra Morrison was sentenced to 40 years in prison for child trafficking, kidnapping, and a host of other charges. She showed no remorse at her sentencing. The Fosters, my parents, were cleared of any wrongdoing. They'd been victims of Sandra's schemes as much as any of us. Sophie and I spent every free moment together, making up for lost time. We discovered we had the same laugh, the same way of tilting our heads when we were confused, the same taste in terrible reality TV shows. Tom welcomed us both into his life with open arms, showing us photo albums of our mother, telling us stories, helping us understand where we came from. But the most surprising relationship that developed was between my adoptive parents and Tom. David and Margaret Foster had raised me with love and care. And Tom recognized that. They'd given me a life that, despite its foundation of lies, had been good. They'd given me opportunities and stability. Tom told them that he was grateful for what they'd done for me, even if the circumstances were wrong. You didn't steal her, Tom said to them one afternoon when we all met for coffee. Sandra Morrison stole both of them. You saved Rebecca. You gave her a home. You're her parents just as much as I'm her father. Family isn't just about biology. It's about love. And you clearly love her. My mom cried and my dad shook Tom's hand with tears in his eyes. In that moment, I realized that I hadn't lost a family. I'd gained one. I had the Fosters who'd raised me. I had Tom, my biological father. And I had Sophie, my identical twin, my mirror, my other half. 1 year after that traffic stop that changed everything, Sophie and I stood together at our mother's grave. Tom had taken us to Portland, to the cemetery where Jennifer Walsh was buried. We placed flowers on her headstone, and Sophie read a letter she'd written to the mother she never got to know. "Thank you for giving us life," she read, her voice steady despite the tears on her cheeks. "Thank you for loving us, even if you didn't get the chance to watch us grow up." "We're okay, Mom. We found each other. We found Dad. We're going to be okay." I squeezed my sister's hand. My twin, my other half. The person I should have known my entire life but was only just beginning to discover. And I thought about how one small thing, a broken taillight on a random Tuesday, had unraveled a 30-year-old mystery and brought two halves of a whole back together. Life is strange like that. One moment you're driving down a familiar road, thinking you know exactly who you are. And the next moment, everything you thought you knew is turned upside down, and you're forced to rebuild your identity from scratch. But maybe that's not such a bad thing. Maybe sometimes we need to be broken down to be built back up stronger, more complete. I don't know what my life would have been like if Emma and I had never been separated. Maybe we would have grown up together, two peas in a pod, finishing each other's sentences and sharing everything. Or maybe the circumstances of our birth would have led to a different kind of tragedy. I'll never know, and I've made peace with that. What I do know is this: I am Rebecca Foster and Emma Walsh. I am the daughter of Margaret and David Foster, and the daughter of Tom Walsh and Jennifer Walsh. I am Sophie's twin, and she is mine. I am all of these things at once, a tapestry of identities woven together by circumstance, DNA, love, and choice. And in the end, that's enough. More than enough. It's everything. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening to my story. It's not an easy one to tell, and I imagine it's not an easy one to hear. But I think it's important to share these kinds of experiences, to remind ourselves that identity is complicated, that family is more than blood, and that the truth, no matter how painful, is always worth seeking. If this story resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever discovered something about your past that changed everything? How did you cope with it? And if you found this story meaningful, I hope you'll share it with others who might need to hear it. Sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is simply tell our truth and let it connect us to others who've walked similar paths. Thank you for being part of this journey with me.